Thank you, Bhante, again. Dear Dhamma friends, we are just about to begin the second day's Q&A session. Today is Sunday the 23rd, April 2023. The residential, 5-day residential retreat conducted by Most Venerable Bhante Panadure Chandaratana Mahathirun Mahanse at Jana Grove Retreat Center in Serpentine, Western Australia. Bhante, we have received 8 questions.
Right.
And one is from a beginner. Actually, maybe there are 2 last one as well. About 4 are on meditation experiences. So I may begin the question.
Yes. Okay.
Dear Venerable, as a beginner, I am trying to practice loving kindness meditation. As per my understanding, that is the best way to control anger. However, when I start thinking of others, as an example, my husband, my children, it's hard to concentrate my mind again. Appreciate any advice with metta.
So when you remember husband, you get angry, is it?
I think, Bhante, but if the way it is written, that's difficult to go back to. That's what it means, but it may not be the meaning.
So it's quite natural, maybe. Anyway, I think that is one possibility, that using metta to overcome anger, and Buddha also recommended that. And there are different ways that we can do it. For example, say when you feel angry, when you feel sort of resentment, probably you can sort of recall what are the things that he or she has done something good to you. Say it is, and during this time there may be certain problems, but say how about the past? So during the past there may be certain situations, the person may be looking after you and loving you, tenderly caring you, and trying to do the best. So likewise, sometimes we happen to see only the, say, kind of a limited scope, kind of a narrow-minded, and thinking only about the present situation, about the present incident, forgetting about all the past incidents, past situations, and giving more prominence to the mistake. So probably you know that if you consider our own lives, so there are many instances, there are many situations, but what the mind typically highlights are the, say, the places that we have gone wrong, or the things that the other person has done something wrong. Everything what they have done something good, we all forget. So therefore, there's a kind of a tendency available in our mind. If we can recognize that, then we can understand, okay, this kind of a tendency, a kind of a personality trait is working within the mind. So I don't need to simply be a victim of that trait. So rather than doing that, is there a possibility of looking at the big picture? And there are certain suttas Buddha mentioned, and even when Sariputta mentioned. So looking at these kind of other possibilities. Say what are the good things a person have done, and what are the good things they have done to, say, my friend, or my 2 children, or to my parents, or whatever like that. So likewise, I mean, whoever may be hard to us, rude to us, may be good to other person, good, soft to another person. So there may be a situation where currently they may have gone through certain misunderstanding, and as a result of that, they may be little hard to us, but may be really good to another person. So likewise, if we can see the big picture, probably that is something that we can forgive and then forget, and then actually again maintain the relationship. And metta actually helps to develop that kind of an attitude. So again and again, maintaining kind of a loving kindness within ourselves. And you can start with yourself. Say you are loving yourself, you are caring yourself, and expecting happiness within you. And the same thing you are expecting from another person, and you are wishing to another person. And there is a kind of a systematic way that the loving kindness meditation can be developed. So you are taking one person whom you really can love, really respect, and then you start developing loving kindness towards that person, and then develop that kind of a energy or loving kindness within the heart, and then the same amount you are now trying to extend to another person with whom that you are not that having such kind of a relationship. Even to that kind of a neutral person, even to a loving person, are we able to develop or maintain that loving kindness? So likewise, people can develop this loving kindness. And on the other hand, we can include mindfulness practice as well. Now, typically what happens is, when we are not aware of our emotions, they grow to a higher extent, and then only we recognize them. Say, for example, you are angry about your husband, you are angry about your wife, and then you sort of shout or get into a trouble, get into an argument, and maybe after a couple of days, probably you regret what you have done. So mistake may be within you, or maybe you misunderstood, or the other person have misunderstood, and you sort of regret about what has happened, but now it is too late. So this is how typically we going through the situations. But with the development of the mindfulness, there's an opportunity for you to understand when the mind is angry. But still the anger may be very strong. Even though you are aware of anger, you can't maybe able to stop it. And then you may be shouting, arguing, and all sorts of things are going on. But the important thing is knowingly it is happening. So within your knowledge, okay, still arguments are happening. You are mindful about it, but you can't stop the anger. Doesn't matter, but it is much better than the previous situation, where you are not knowing anything and the whole emotion, the anger has overwhelmed you, and then you acted or reacted, and later you regret. So that is the first situation. The second one is that you are knowingly going through the situation, but because of the power of anger, you can't stop it. But once you further continue the mindfulness practice, what happens is, before it is coming, or rather, when it is available in the mind, when you are burning with anger, you are fully aware of it. Now you have some kind of a control. Even though anger is available within the mind, you are not going to argument, you are not going to shout or fight or whatever it is, but anger is there. So that is much better than the previous case. So now anger is there, yes, but you haven't gone to any kind of a reaction. And further you develop, mindfulness practice, then the important thing is you are able to understand anger at its early stage. It is not has come to the kind of a overwhelming level, rather it's under kind of a controllable level, and it hasn't gone to a very higher level. So you can recognize anger at a very early stage. At that time you can actually control yourself, let go of that, and likewise fair amount of possibilities are there, choices are available. And as further you develop mindfulness, even the first thought of anger, second thought of anger, you can recognize. So likewise, there's a gradual sort of development happens within you when you are developing mindfulness practice. And I feel that is much more important and kind of stronger than even loving kindness meditation. Some of you might not agree with me, but I feel that is more valid. And once you develop fair amount of, mindfulness practice, then you don't even need much of loving kindness meditation, because you understand yourself, how these emotions are developing and how they are sort of overwhelming, and how you are sort of burning, and all these sort of consequences you understand yourself, and slowly you can let them go. So likewise, there are many possibilities are available. So, it's good that you do loving kindness meditation, and plus you can incorporate mindfulness practice as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Second question. Venerable Bhante, thank you so much for visiting us. Having listened to your Zoom talks, it is wonderful to see you in person. I now use the body form and awareness of the movement as my primary object. awareness during the day and sitting practices are getting similar, with more awareness of defilements as they rise. Over these last 6 months or so, from time to time, there is a sense of alienation of awareness of this body process and the mind process. There is witnessing of these two processes as they go their own way. This sense is growing stronger. There is also awareness without any object, awareness of emptiness. It may last a minute or so, but improving. Drowsiness is a big problem when the mind has nothing to engage us with. Please advise. Blessings of the Triple Gem and contentment, I think.
Yeah. So actually, now if you consider since there are some beginners here, so if we start from some early stuff, so basically we start looking at breathing, for example. So breathing happens naturally, and we are trying to be mindful about breathing. In breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. So at the beginning, actually sometimes we are putting unnecessary effort. We might even forcefully breathe, effortfully breathe. And later we understand it is not necessary. So we can allow the body to breathe naturally. And then we as an outsider can recognize in-breath and out-breath. It's basically very much like witnessing the breathing. So here actually we are practically learning something. So when things are happening, kind of an experience is going on, how we can look at it objectively as an outsider. Sometimes in Pali we call it as parato, where incident is happening, but we are not contained in it, involved in it, but step back and looking at it. So this is a kind of a practical experience that we can develop through Anapanasati, say rising and falling, even in walking. So some of you might have experienced, say the body is walking. So as a third person, as an outsider, you can watch how body is walking. So similarly, even when you do, now when you are learning that kind of attitude, that kind of a possibility, say, suppose now you are practicing elements meditation. So various sensations are available, various element characteristics are available throughout the body, and you are watching them, observing them. There are also later you can come across, okay, now they are happening. I don't need to put forth a lot of energy, lot of effort. I can simply allow the mind to do it naturally. So likewise, it's a kind of a learning process. At the beginning, we involve too much, we put a lot of effort, but later when mind learns how to do it by its own, then our intervention is less, and our effort also has to be balanced, and things are happening. Mind takes care of doing this investigation. And as we continue, as the report mentioned, so things can even fade away, things can mix up, as we discussed yesterday. And then probably the mind might feel kind of bored. So at that time, you might fall asleep. But the solution is to continue the practice. So you may even fall asleep, can't help. But with time, you may even actually continue the practice without falling asleep. Even though the process has become very much mixed up, like a flux, still you are not falling asleep. You can recognize kind of a flux is available. It is not that attractive, but the mind has fairly shifted from that experience. And without falling asleep, you can watch it. So it also, as I mentioned, it's a kind of developing the practice. So it is, logically we can't understand, how it is happening, but practically as you continue, mind will take care of it. Like we do in Anapanasati, as I mentioned, at the beginning we do forceful breathing and we are struggling. But later we understand, okay, practically let the body breathe, let me look as an outsider. Same thing here also, things are mixed up. Now you feel boring and maybe drowsy, but later you are able to maintain without drowsiness, without kind of sleepiness, you are fully aware about the process. So therefore, I think you can continue, and you may, with time, you can overcome this problem. So if anyone want to contribute, you are welcome, or the person who has written it, if you need further information, you can participate. Otherwise, we can continue. Yeah.
Third question. Dear Venerable, and welcome to Perth. After 5 years, welcome to Perth after 5 years. Whenever possible, I join Nissarana via Zoom. I have been practicing mindfulness for several years. Most of the time, mind goes to the body. It might be vibration, electric shock type of thing, tingling sensation or numbness. Sometimes wiggly worms sort of effect or a slight headache can be noticed. These are merely observations. Nothing is linear, goes in cycles. While sitting on top of above-mentioned waves, sort of things happen. Times goes into a still state, which is not a sleep but similar. No sensations, feelings, no thoughts. A very boring place. Can stay there for 5 to 10 minutes. Afraid that might lead to sleep. As Bhante mentioned yesterday, it is a good place. But Unnatdahi Malatdahi feeling reaps in. Disciple of Venerable Dhammajiva, it looks like. Reaps in. Sometimes felt like giving up meditation even. Hence, dedicate more time for walking meditation. Even though I love walking meditation, these days my movements are restricted due to a small injury in a foot. Therefore, observe the ego aspect. Not able to attend common chores. Getting help from others. Being noticed. Anyway, yogis are so nice, irrespective of age, gender or race. Get VIP treatment. Happy to be here. Though miss out walking meditation and bushwalks. Thank you, Thero.
Yeah, I think some similar question that yesterday, but Professor Sumedha has asked. So very similar thing. So when we go through this stage, so our mind does not appreciate that state. So that is where we need certain amount of guidance coming from the Buddha's teaching. So, and we can say this is, even mentioned in certain books, like you even give up the practice and you change the place, you change the teaching, or rather the technique, you change the teacher. So likewise, many things can happen. So all these things are mistakes, by the way. So once you go through that stage, so the mind come to a kind of a transition where previously mind is fully occupied with so many things. So it is being excited by so many things, say various sights, sounds, etc. So it's a kind of a continuous excitement. But now less and less excitement, so nothing to do. So, utterly boring. So, and then you feel like, okay, what's the hell going on? I better stop meditation. I better go for walking. This is utterly boring. I am not moving forward. So likewise, kind of internally we are getting kind of a frustration, doubts, and these doubts are sort of, causing us to skip this part. But here, it's a kind of a learning process, allowing the mind to learn how just be, without any excitement, without any agitation. The thing is, as even yesterday we discussed during the Dhamma sermon, so nowadays we are finding out kind of a pleasure through agitation, through excitement. Now say, when you see a movie, so what are we doing? Now typically I give this example, now say, if there's a movie which is full of excitement, say a lot of gunfight and all karate and all this, that, and there may be another movie which is just showing, say, sunset or something, and which one would you think that breaks the fox box, whatever it is? So the first one may win, definitely, because that is what people are appreciating, that is what they are spending millions, and that is what they are gaining. But The second one, nobody will go to look, but that is peaceful, isn't it? So that is peaceful, and it is not agitating the mind, it is not frustrating the mind, it is not sort of provocating inner defilements. But we don't appreciate it. So that is the problem. So that is why, so Buddha encourages us just be in that state as much as possible. So even say you come to a little bit more advanced level, say we discussed yesterday that anisita state, where you are not associating anything. So even that is utterly boring. But Buddha encourages us to again and again return to that state. Etam santang, etam panitang, yadidang upekha. This is sublime, this is peaceful, this is equanimity. But he encourages us to again and again be there. But when our eyes are open, when we see things, it can go to a kind of excited state. It may be a happy state. But rather than staying there, Buddha encourages us to return back to that unassociated, kind of a, say, peaceful, very soft, kind of a middle state. And there may be a situation where you are shifting to the other side. Say you feel unhappy, worried, depressed. So rather than staying there, again Buddha encourages us to go back to that middle state, the equanimous state. Equanimous state is boring. As Bhante Dhammajiva mentioned, so it is like just white bread. No jam, no butter, no pepper, no marmite, nothing is there. Just white bread. So how can we stay in that white bread state? Or just normal, just pure water state? Because you are not adding any sugar, you are not adding any milk, you are not adding any coffee. Just pure water. So mind's most healthy state is that. But we can't stay there. So there is no any kind of an enjoyment. So we used to bombard the mind using all these different sense impingements, sense data coming from different senses, and we continuously excite the mind. But through vipassana, so we are come to a stage where mind is there now. Mind is there with nothing, but we can't bear it, isn't it? I mean, we want something. I want something. Let me go to the walking. Let me breathe. Or let me put myself to something else. Let me read a book. Let me hear a Dhamma sermon. So likewise, we always look for various other alternatives rather than just being in this neutral state. But slowly, we have to teach the mind to just be in that neutral state. So I think actually Ajahn Braham mentioned one interesting story actually. Since we are here, I like to take that also. So it's very much like, say, how about you are watching, say, a cricket match without the commentary? Say, how are you? So typically what happens is when we are watching something, so inner chatter is going on, inner commentary is going on, and these commentaries are really influencing our judgments. But how about just watching without any inner chatter, without any that kind of judgments? So we are going towards that actually. Now here, I mean, even more than that here, so the senses are very much like not interested of picking up all these information. And now mind is not enthusiastic of getting all those, and mind just rest. If you can remember the advice to Bahya, ditte ditta mattam bhavissati, sute sutta mattam bhavissati, mute mutta mattam bhavissati, viññāte viññāta mattam bhavissati. So ditte ditta mattam bhavissati, you can see, but mind is simply resting. And you can hear, but mind still resting. And you can smell, taste, and you can go through the tangibles, but still mind is very much in that equilibrium, in that equipoise, in the middle state. And thoughts also randomly coming and going. It doesn't influence the mind, interrupt the mind. Mind simply maintains that equanimity. So Buddha encourages that again and again, but usually we don't appreciate that. And again, I think in the question or the report, it is mentioned that you are sort of trying to learn how eye-making happens, how mind-making happens, identification happens. Those are very good actually. Now, while being in this state, how mind tries to create a self, how mind tries to create a person. So these are the interesting areas now we can investigate. Only we are familiar with this state, then these things are possible. If we go to the agitated state, it's very unlikely that we can do it. So therefore, I also like to encourage, just be, you don't need to spend hours there. So slowly allow the mind to just familiarize with it. So you do there just 10 minutes, okay, fine, no problem. Next day, just 15 minutes, and you're happy with it. And maybe another day, another 20 minutes. So likewise. And maybe after being there, you can, eat a chocolate, or you can look at something just to, gratify the senses, because he has done that. Maybe tomorrow, so you promise, okay, I'll give you 2 chocolates. You have to be there for 20 minutes. Yeah. So basically, in the Ogatharana Sutta, so I like to connect there. In the Ogatharana Sutta, so Buddha mentioned, without struggling, without stopping, he crossed the flood. So he can't immediately do it also. So a little bit time is required. So it's a kind of a, you recognize the wave, and you are not really struggling. You are not simply just waiting. Rather, you recognize the flood, and then you are moving. Something like that here also we have to do. So you recognize how mind is reacting. So okay, let it give some kind of a toffee. Fine. Okay, now it's a little bit happy. Or now let me stay without anything. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. So likewise, we are educating a child. So our mind also has to be educated just to be in this kind of a very calm, peaceful state without giving any kind of excitement. Yeah. So don't change the teacher, don't change the practice, don't give up, don't stop practice, just continue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can give it as a kind of a yeah. Doesn't matter. You may fall asleep, doesn't matter, but slowly you are able to wake up from sleep, because falling asleep can definitely happen, because nothing to do, no. So it is utterly peaceful and there is nothing to do. It is utterly boring. So mind, you may fall asleep and even your head may fall. But later, slowly, as the mind recognizes these states, you can wake up. So, if you are not crossing this area, you are constantly, avoiding that, then you can't, cross this section or this transition. So therefore, allow you to, fall asleep. Doesn't matter. But time to time, you may wake up. Again, you wake up, again, boring. Spend 5 minutes, again, fall asleep. Again, wake up, another 5 minutes. So likewise, it's a kind of going through the mistakes and we are learning. So, there is no other way to educate the mind simply through knowledge and through the theory. Rather, you have to go through practically. You fall asleep, again wake up, fall asleep, again wake up. And one day you won't fall asleep. So that's why, Bhante Dhammaji used to say, Nindata avadi venawa. Say you are waking up from sleep, waking up from sleep. So you can go to this sleeping mode, but slowly as the sensitivity of the mind grows, you can wake up. Waking up happens frequently. You won't spend long time in the sleeping mode. Rather, you may as your mindfulness improves. So mindfulness is equal to wakefulness. And as your mindfulness further improves, sensitivity of the mind improves, and you can just be in this boring state without falling asleep. Yeah. So there is another one. So everybody wakes up.
I have to answer the first part is that is the Arhat mind only. Is that correct?
Actually, we can't say Arahant's mind, because Arahant's mind is completely free from any defilement. All the time. I mean, now here we are talking not an Arahant, rather Vipassana practitioner who temporarily, subsided the Asava, Anusaya. I mean, those are, latent. They are still.
What I mean, that's what I mean, permanent. The Arahant is permanent.
Yeah, we can say so, yes.
So that's what they are aiming for, right?
Correct.
Then, in my case, sometimes I can be in that place. It's a very peaceful place for me.
Right.
And very relaxing and comfortable. But then you also mentioned about the I'm making my name. So that is
Correct.
a thought of some thought associated with myself.
Exactly. So while we are there, all of a sudden there may be a kind of a memory or a plan or some incident coming to your mind, which consists of a certain person, certain I, certain myself, or kind of a possessiveness, something like that.
So it's an indication of some incident where there is myself.
Correct.
Or some kind of wanting something.
Correct.
That's also then that you become a person.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
those sort of thoughts.
Correct. Because while we are there, so there are no thoughts and there is no any attachment, any grasping. So there is no I making.
Yes.
So that is why we also feel boring, because, so for us to be motivated, so the I has to be given some chance, given some place. Then only I feel sort of energetic, ambitious. But here, no I making, no mind making. So you feel bored and monotony, and I'm just going out because no place for me.
What I'm hearing is that you should take the opportunity during that time to try to get rid of this me, myself.
Not only that, even other defilements, whatever the defilements, because now this is a kind of a pure state of mind. So no defilements, no attachments, no grasping, no I making, mind making. And we are now familiarizing with that state. Later, when defilements are arising, you can quickly recognize. Because this is a very kind of a reference. So that's why Buddha used it as a kind of a reference. It's a kind of an emptiness. We can't say it to the extreme level, but kind of a, to some extent it is empty. And later, slowly you use that state to recognize various defilements, and then you let go of those defilements, I making, etc. as well. And you become more and more pure then.
But in my case, unfortunately, these things don't turn up,
Yeah.
Challenge or to look or to...
That's the thing. Now, thing is, now suppose you are doing sitting meditation and you are, expecting to recognize defilements. And you are looking at, let the defilement come, I am going to attack. So, no defilements may come. But when you go to to the lunch, there are the possibilities. So someone irritates you, someone disrespects you, then the defilements may come. So that is the thing. So even though we are familiarizing this state here, now we need to spread that state to every time. So how are we going to maintain such kind of a state during the whole day? So that is how, because here it's fairly peaceful, it's a kind of a controlled environment, and we may be also in a somewhat strong samadhi. So that all stop all the defilements. But here when the samadhi concentration is lessened, then the mind has less protection. Then it's vulnerable and various defilements can come up. That is the place we need to understand them and let them go. That is where the development happens. That is where the bhavana happens. Not actually here then, in that sense. Even though here it is quite peaceful and you can spend hours, but the recognizing defilements is not possible here sometimes. Exactly. So in that sense, it is not fruitful. So participating in various other activities and involving with different things, that is where the possibility of defilements to happen. So that is where the practice also has to happen. Yeah.
So this is an unrealistic situation because we have all the conditions are quite conducive and we go into state for me at that it's always peaceful, so it writes not always for me. So it's a very comfortable place for me.
Definitely. No, that's why, we need to familiarize with it. So, that's why I encourage, even though at the beginning you feel like bored, slowly mind will start understanding that. So, immediately mind can't appreciate it because there is no place for I, there is no any excitement. So, mind can't appreciate it. But slowly, as you are slowly familiarizing with it, say 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So then it's a kind of a learning curve that mind is going through. And it will learn, okay, this is good. No. Why should I shift? If I go out, then I get burned. Why should I stay in this stillness? It is utterly peaceful. So that is where internally you get the kind of an enjoyment, appreciation. Mind has learned that. But in order to achieve it, we need some kind of an encouragement coming from the Buddha's teaching. Say Buddha has mentioned that, Buddha requests us to go again and again to that equanimous state. So that encouragement is necessary for us. But later when the mind learned that, then we are good. Then we can even be there maybe 1 hour, that is more than enough. Then it is fairly registered in the mind. And now you have learned about it. It is no more a boring state. It becomes something that you really love. And you time to time you are energizing yourself by just being there. Say suppose that you have gone through a lot of hectic situations during your office or wherever it is, and later comes back home and you just be there. It's kind of rejuvenating. So calm and peaceful and just, relaxing there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That can become more.
This is the 4th question.
Right.
ගරු ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ මෙම ප්‍රශ්නය ඊයේ සාකච්ඡා කරපු ප්‍රශ්නයට අදාළ දෙයකි. විපස්සනා භාවනාවේදී දැනෙන කම්පන චංචල ආදී ධාතු ගුණ ප්‍රීතියේ එක අවස්ථාවක්ද? පස්සද්ධියේ ස්වභාවය හා එහිදී ඇතිවන සිහියේ ස්වභාවය පැහැදිලි කරමින් ඉතා කරුණාවෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිමි. I'll endeavor to give a brief translation. Dear Venerable Bhante, this question has relevance to yesterday's discussions. The vibrations that one feels during Vipassana practice, is that a stage of rapture? The nature of tranquility, could you please explain the nature of tranquility, passaddhi, and the mindfulness, and the nature of the mindfulness that happens in that state?
Yeah. Now, if you refer Anapanasati Sutta, now there are 16 stages explained there. The first 4 stages, Buddha mentioned, you can develop as a way of developing Kayanupassana. The second 4 stages, you can say it's the Vedananupassana. Third as the Chittanupassana, and the 4th as the Dhammanupassana. Now, if you refer the second stage, so where what Buddha mentioned as Vedananupassana, it starts with Pīti Patisangvedi, isn't it? So Pīti Patisangvedi Asasi Samita Sikkati, Sukha Patisangvedi Asasi Samita Sikkati. Now, all these are happy states, pleasurable states. Pīti is rapture. But Buddha's advice is to look at rapture as a third person, objectively, from the Vipassana point of view, from the Vedananupassana point of view, rather than simply being attached to these pleasurable feelings and enjoying, involving, expecting those pleasures. Now, Buddha's advice is to look at them objectively. So this is another form of pleasure, another form of feeling. Now, therefore, I can agree, sometimes there may be sort of these kind of rapturous feelings. There may be, say, goosebumps, maybe, say, tingling sensations. So they may be a product of rapture, But advice is how to look at them objectively from a Vipassana point of view. So you are not purposely encouraging these, and you are not rejecting them either. But now you are investigating them. How this feeling is happening, how this rapturous feeling is happening, how these tingling sensations are happening. They may be pleasurable, but how they are happening, how they are evolving, how they are changing. So likewise, irrespective of either they are painful feelings or pleasurable feelings, they are merely feelings. So it is up to us to look at them objectively and try to understand from them. Then it is Vedananupassana. So therefore, either it may be happen because of the samatha practice or vipassana practice. If you are, talented, you can make use of them from the vipassana point of view. So even in the vipassana, say as you continue, for example, even at the level of arising and passing away, there also Buddha mentioned there's a possibility of arising rupture. What's that? There's a beautiful verse in Dhammapada. Amanusi rati hoti passato deabhyam. So there's a inhuman kind of happiness, pleasure arising in this particular practitioner who is seeing arising and passing away. So it is a kind of a pleasure. So now rather than, being trapped in it, even looking at that pleasure as arising and passing away. So these are very interesting areas that we can explore. So therefore we can include even the rapturous sensations, these goosebumps and in many other forms of pleasure, also we can look at as a Vedananupassana. Right.
This question is not mine. If anyone wants to ask any questions.
මම මේක ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කිව්වේනේ. ඇහුවේ ප්‍රශ්නේ සිංහලෙන්. හරි. මේ පොඩ්ඩක් කියනවා සිංහලෙන් කියන්නත් බෑ හොඳ නෑනේ. මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇහුවේ මේ ආව ප්‍රීතියෙන් හටගන්න මේ ඒ විවිධාකාර දේවල් අපිට පුළුවන්ද වේදනානුපස්සනාවකට යොදන්න කියලා. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම ආනාපාන සති සූත්‍රයේදී ඒක තමයි බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ කියලා තියෙන්නේ. ආනාපාන සති සූත්‍රයේදී ඇත්තටම 16 ආකාරයකින් පෙන්නනවා. පළවෙනි කොටස් 4 කායानुපස්සනාව, දෙවෙනි කොටස් 4 වේදනානුපස්සනාව, තුන්වෙනි කොටස් 4 චිත්තානුපස්සනාව, අන්තිම කොටස් 4 ධම්මානුපස්සනාව. ඒතර දෙවෙනි කොටස් 4 තියෙන්නේ වේදනානුපස්සනාව. ඒ වේදනානුපස්සනාව කොටසේ පටන් ගන්නෙම පීතිපටිසංවේදී කියලා. දෙවෙනි ඊළඟ එකට පටන් ගන්න සුඛපටිසංවේදී කියලා. ඉතින් මේ ඔක්කොම පෙන්වන්නේ ඇත්තටම සැපය. මේ ඔක්කොම ප්‍රීතිය ගැන කතා කරන්නේ. ඒතර මේවා ඔක්කොම ශරීරය තුළ නිරූපණය වෙන්නේ හුඟක් වෙලාවට නිකන් එක කිලිපොලා යාමක් වශයෙන්, නැත්නම් නිකන් රැලි යාමක් වශයෙන්, නැත්නම් නිකන් පා වෙනවා වගේ. හරිම නිකන් හොද වැඩිච්ච ගතියක් තමයි ශරීරය තුළ නිරූපණය වෙන්නේ. පුදුමාකාර සෝයක් තමයි එතන තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ කියන්නේ ඔතන ඒ ප්‍රීතියට නිකන් අපි ඒ තුල වල්මත් වෙලා ඒකට නිකන් ආසා වෙලා එතන ඉන්නව වෙනුවට ඕක බලන්න දැන් වේදනානුපස්සනාවක මුහුණුවරකින්. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ වේදනාවේ ස්වභාවයක්. සැප වේදනාව. ඒතර වේදනාවේ ස්වභාව ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් තුනක් පෙන්නනවා. සැප වේදනා, දුක් වේදනා, උපේක්ෂා වේදනා කියලා. ඒකට දැන් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ මේ සැප වේදනා කියන ස්වභාවය. සොම්නස් වේදනා කියන ස්වභාවය. ඒතර ඒකත් බලන්න නිකන් අර වෙන කෙනෙක්ගේ ප්‍රීතිය අධ්‍යා බලනවා වගේ, සතුට අධ්‍යා බලනවා වගේ ඒකත් දිහා බලන්න කොහොමද දැන් මේක අඩු වැඩි වෙන්නේ? කොහොමද මේක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ? කොහොමද මේක හටගන්නේ? කොහොමද මේක නැති වෙන්නේ? ඉතින් මේ සැප වේදනාව අපි වේදනානුපස්සනාවට ලක් කිරීමක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි මොන භාවනාව කළත් එතෙන්දී මතුවෙන ප්‍රීතියක් අපි දක්ෂ නම් අපිට පුළුවන් ඒක වේදනානුපස්සනාව මුහුණුවරකින් බලන්න. ඒත් අපි විපස්සනාත් තමයි වඩන්නේ. ඔව්.
Going to pick that up into the special.
Right.
Like in the middle, like, but not feel going to sleep. But my mind goes through like the cycle of it, like pain in my leg, and I go to leg, and even within one breath, it goes start of the breath, and then it goes to pain in my leg, and then it goes to some other head, something like it goes on circle. Even in one breath, it goes on circle. But I don't kind of have any attachment or any anger or anything.
Right.
It's just going on circle like a single row processor.
Right.
So I'm just looking through them.
Right.
And what
Now,
happens is that they get a little bit again bored. Just because it's going through that cycle to the pen.
Correct.
So even in the walking, like I feel like when I take one step, I feel like my mind goes to the other step, like the step that I put in the ground. And when I feel that, my mind goes to the other one and feeling that moving forward.
Correct.
And then it comes again to the other one, so without kind of going through that cycle. Even in the city, it is like how to say, is going through all this cycle.
Right. But I mean, now mind is doing it by itself. You don't need to get involved. Mind is taking care of the whole thing. I mean, it is not skipping anything, but looking at, investigating each and every one, and finish one thing, then go to the next one, go to the next one, doing that part by itself.
That's right.
No problem. Good. I mean, we need to continue. The thing is, continue in the sense, so at the beginning only, we need to teach the mind how to do it. Because mind may not be interested of doing that. Now, say, for example, suppose once you develop mindfulness, so one issue is that sometimes people are happy only with the result of the mindfulness. They are not going to the next stage of investigation. So that is necessary, because mindfulness alone can have a very good result, and it may prepare the mind in a more very calm kind of a situation, and we should not stop there. Now we need to purposely introduce this investigation. That is where the Sampajanya is coming to the picture. Now that Buddha mentioned even in this Anapanasati Sutta, what's that? Tandhammang panyaya pavichinati pavicharati parivimansang apajjati. So whatever the object that you have been properly mindful, now it's a matter of looking at it closely, investigating it, searching it, examining it. So that has to be initiated. So we have to teach the mind to do it. And once we are doing that purposely, later, as you said, now mind itself is doing it. Now we don't need to, purposely initiate that. Mind, whenever these different sensations are happening, mind takes care of looking at them and investigating that. So later, it may, once it is happy, once it is somewhat, mature, it may go by itself to the next stage. That is more natural. So rather than we trying to push it to a next stage, allow it to get more understanding by going through this practice, then it will naturally go to the next stage once it is, prepared. Therefore, I feel we can simply allow the mind to continue the practice, and slowly it will go to the next stage by itself. It will be more natural. Yeah.
The next is the fifth question.
Right.
Thero මේකත් සිංහලෙන්. Thero සරණයි ගරු ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. කලක සිට භාවනා කරන අයෙක්නි. වසර 4කට 5කට පමණ පෙර මගේ භාවනාව සිදු වූ අයුරු නම් පරයන්ක භාවනාවේදී හුස්මට අවධානය යොමු වී එය තුනී වී ගොස් මුකුත් නොදැනෙන තත්වයකටපත් වේ. කයේ දැනෙන කම්පන චංචල දෙස බලා සිටිමි. ශරීරය තුළට සිත යොමු වී ඇති අතර මුළු කය පුරාම සියුම් ඉරිගඩු පිපීමක් වෙන්නක් වරින් වර සිදු වුණි. ඉන්පසු බෙල්ලේ සිට හිස අහලට වලලු ආකාරයෙන් යමක් උඩට කැරකි යයි. මේ ආකාරයට කීපවරක් එකම පර්යංක කිහිපයකින් සිදු වුණි. මෙම අත්දැකීම නැවත සිදුුනේ නැත. දැන් තත්වය සක්මන් භාවනාව. පාදයේ ස්පර්ශයට සිත යොමු කරමින් සක්මන් කරමි. කම්පන චංචල වලට සිත යොමු වේ. අවට ශබ්ද රූප වලට සිත යොමු වුවත් ඒ බාධාවක් නොවේ. සක්මන විතක පැද්දෙන ආකාරයට සිදුවේ. වැනි යන ආකාරයට එසේම නිදිමතක්ද පැමිණේ. බොහෝ විට නිවසේ සක්මන් කරන විට පැය භාගයක් තුල නිදිමත ගතියට මත් වූ ගතියට පැමිණේ. සක්මන ඔහේ යන බවක්ද භාවනාවක් ලෙස වැඩිවීමක් ඇද්දයි සිතේ. ඉදිරියට යාමට උපදෙස් පතමි. පර්යංක භාවනාව බොහෝ දුරට නිකන් වාඩි වෙලා බලන් ඉන්න බව සිතේ. පෙරමෙන් හුස්මට වැඩි අවධානයක් නොයයි. එය සාමාන්‍ය ආකාරයෙන් පවතී. සිතවිලි පැමිණේ. ඒක දකි. බොහෝ වෙලාවට නිදිබර ගතියක් දැනේ.
ඔක්කොමලා එකම ගෲප් එකේ ඉන්නේ.
භාවනාවක් නොවන බව දැනෙන්නේ. මේ අත්දැකීම අවුරුද්දක් පමණ තිබේ. භාවනාව එපා වී ඇත. වහන්සේ මාට අවශ්‍ය උපදෙස් ලබා ගැනීම ගෞරවයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. වහන්සේට වහවහ නිවන් අවබෝධ වේවා.
Yeah, probably you can simply brief it. Yeah.
What the question says is, has been meditating for about 4 years. During the sitting meditation, attention is on the breath, but I come to a state where I don't feel anything. I watch the body vibrations. When the attention is onto the body, I feel some goosebumps like feeling coming on and off. Thereafter, from the neck, from the neck to the head, I feel something spiraling and going up. This way, I have felt it number of times during the sitting meditations. That experience did not occur thereafter. Present status, walking meditation. I pay attention to the contact, feet contact. Body vibrations also come to the attention. The sounds and forms, forms, I will use the word forms. The sounds and forms, like sights. Even though the mind goes to the sounds and sights or forms, it is not a hindrance. At times, the walking meditation, I feel like oscillating in the walking meditation. Walking feels like oscillating. I also feel sleepiness during that process. Most of the times, when I do walking meditation at home, within the first half an hour, I feel sleepy. Feels like the walking meditation just happens and doesn't feel like a meditation. I seek your advice for future progress.
Right. So I think අපි ඊතරම මේකමයි කතා කළෙත්. ඉතින් මේක ටිකක් අර බෝරින් තමයි. ඉතින් ටිකක් මේක කල් යනවා මේක අපිට තල්ලු කළා එකපාරටම එහාට යනවා කියන එක කිසි තේරුමක් නැහැ. මේක ඇත්තටම නිකන් මනස තේරුම් ගැනීමක් සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. එහාට ඉතින් යම්සි කාලයක් අවශ්‍යයි ඒ යම්සි පරිණත වීමක් වෙන්න. මොකද අපි පුරුදු කරලා තියෙන්නේ මනස අවුස්සන එකක්. නිරන්තරයෙන් මනස අවුස්සලා තමයි අපි මේක සතුටු කරන්නේ. පුළුවන් තරම් රූප පෙන්නලා මනස අවුස්සනවා, ශබ්ද අස්සවලා මනස අවුස්සනවා, ගඳ සුවඳ හරහා, රස හරහා, ස්පර්ශ හරහා, අතෝරක් නැති කල්පනා හරහා. ඉතින් මේක තමයි අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ජීවත් වෙනවා කියලා කරන්නේ. ඉන්ද්‍රයන් හරහා පුළුවන් තරම් මනස අවුස්සීමක්. අද කාලේ ඉතින් සෝෂල් මීඩියා කියයි, අරවා කියයි, මේවා කියයි නේද? ඔය හැම එකක් කරාම ඉතින් මේක අවුස්සන එකයි කරන්නේ. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම දැන් විපස්සනාවක් කරහා දැන් මෙයා ගෙනලා තියෙනවා තනිකරම අර මේ තැම්පත් වෙච්ච ගතියකට. දැන් අපි හිතමු සමතයක් කරහා ගියත් තැම්පත් වෙච්ච ගතියකට එන්නේ. හැබැයි ඒ සඳහා පුදුම විදිහට ඒ ශබ්ද නොඇසී තියෙන්න ඕනේ, රූප නොබලා ඉන්න ඕනේ, ගඳ සුවඳ රස ස්පර්ශ මේ ඔක්කොම පුළුවන් තරම් වළක්වලා බොහොම මේ කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරපු පරිසරයක තමයි මේ වැඩේ කරලා තියෙන්නේ. නමුත් දැන් මෙතන එහෙම නෙමෙයි, සක්මන් කරද්දිත් මනස නිකන් ඔහේ තියෙනවා. නිශ්ශබ්ද වගේ තියෙනවා. ඒ හිරමේට නොදුවා ඉන්නවා. එයාට දැන් නිකන් හරි කම්මැලි. කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. යන්න අතීතයට යන්නෙත් නැහැ. අනාගතයට ලොකෝට යන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඉතින් හරි බෝරින් ගතියක් තමයි එන්නේ. හරි උදාසීන ගතියක් තමයි දැනෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේක පොඩ්ඩක් අපි ඉවසගෙන යන්න අවශ්‍යයි. අපි මේක වෙනස් කරා කියලා, මේක කඩලා බිඳලා දැම්මා කියලා, මෙතෙන්දී භාවනාව වෙනස් කළා කියලා නෙමෙයි විසඳුම තියෙන්නේ. අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් මෙතෙන්ට එන්න ඕනේ නිවැරදි භාවනාවක් වැඩුවා නම්. ඒකයි දැන් අනිත් පැත්තෙන් ඕනනම් නිකන් තව පැත්තකින් අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් අපි නිවන් දකින්න නම් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නිවන තියෙන්නේ රාගයේ පැත්තේද විරාගයේ පැත්තේද? විරාගයේ පැත්තේ නේද? ඒතර දැන් රාගයේ පැත්තක් තමයි අපි පුරුදු කරන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන්. රූප බලන්නේ අපි තුන් දැන් චිත්‍රපටයක් අපි බලනවා. චිත්‍රපටය අපි බලන්නේ ආසාවකටනේ නේද? අපි ඒකට පුදුම ආසයි. ඒකේ පෙනෙන ජවනිකාවලට පුදුම ආසාවක් තියෙන. එතන රාග නිශ්චිතයි. ඒතර අපි සින්දුවක් අහන්නේ ඒකේ රාග නිශ්චිතයි. ඒකේ රාගයෙන් ආසාවෙන් ඒක ලෝභයෙන් ඒක අපි අහන්නේ. හැමතිස්සෙම එතකොට මේ ඉඳුරන් පරිහරණය කරද්දී අපි මේ රාග පැත්තක් හරහා තමයි මේ ඉඳුරන්ට ලොකු උත්තේජනයක් දෙන්නේ. දැන් එතකොට භාවනාවකින් ඒකේ අනිත් පැත්ත තමයි පෙරලලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් රාගය වෙනුවට දැන් විරාගයක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. විරාගී මට්ටම ඉතින් හරි උදාසීනයි. ඒකේ නෑ හිත අවිස්සෙල්ලක්. ඒකේ තියෙන නිකන් හිත තැම්පත් කිරීමක්. හිත නිකන් නිවීමක්. ඒක ඉතින් අපි අර වෙලා තියෙන ඒකේ කිසිම රසයක් නැති නිසා හිතට ලොකු වැඩක් නැති නිසා හිත එවිස්සෙල්ලක් නැති නිසා අපි ඒක ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනවා. අපි භාවනාව වෙනස් කරනවා. ගුරුවරයා මාරු කරනවා. භාවනාව අත්හැරලා දානවා. ඒ හැමදාම ඉතින් අපි ওই විදිහට ඒ මනසේ තියෙන ඒ තැම්පත් භාවය ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනවා. අපිට හරි කම්මැලි. අපි කෝල් එකක් දෙනවා, ලියුමක් ලියනවා, ඊමේල් එකක් ලියනවා, චිත්‍රපටයක් බලනවා. මොනවා හරි කර අවසන් එකමයි දිගටම කරලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් ඉතින් අපි උත්සාහත් වෙන්න ඕනේ බැරිද මේක පොඩ්ඩක් අවසන් නැතුව ඉන්න. පොඩ්ඩක් තැම්පත් වෙන්න දෙන්න. කියලා එහෙනම් අපි පොඩ්ඩක් එක පැත්තෙන් අපිට නුවණින් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ මේ මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒකේ තියෙන වටිනාකම මොකද්ද කියලා අපි නුවණින් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. නුවණින් තේරුම් අරගෙන පොඩ්ඩක් ඉවසීමෙන් ඉන්න ඕනේ. පොඩි වෙලාවක් අපි බැරිද මේ උදාසීන ගතිය තුළ ජීවත් වෙන්න. අද ජීවත් වුණා නම් විනාඩි 5ක් බැද්ද හෙට මට විනාඩි 10ක් ජීවත් වෙන්න. අනිද්දාට බැරිද විනාඩි 15ක් ජීවත් වෙන්න. අන්න ඒ වගේ පොඩ මේක මනසට කියලා දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර කියලා දෙීමේ අම්මකවානුවකදී මනස ඒක තේරුම් ගන්නවා. මේකේ ඉන්න පුළුවන්. මේකේ මට මුකුත් කරදරයක් නැහැනේ. මේකේ ලොකු දැවිල්ලක් නැහැනේ. මට මොකක්වත් හානියක් උනේ නැහැනේ. මෙතන නිකන් පොඩි ශාන්ත ගතියක් තියෙනවානේ කියලා පොඩ මනස ඒ தත්වෙට හුරු වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකට පොඩ්ඩක් කල් යනවා. ඉතින් අපි අර தත්ත්වේ ඉන්න අතරේ හැමතිස්සෙම අවුස්ස හිටියොත් කවදාවත් මේක සෙටල් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මනස තැම්පත් වීමක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒතර මනස තැම්පත් වෙන්න කාලයක් යනවා. ඒක පුරුදු වෙන්න කාලයක් යනවා. ඉතින් අපි ඉවසීමෙන් ඒ පුරුදු වෙන්න ඒ ඉඩ සලස්සලා දෙන්නයි අපේ පැත්තෙන් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. දැන් හිතන්න දැන් අපි මෙතෙන්ට ඇවිල්ලා ඉතින් අතන මේ සිටින් ප්‍රැක්ටිස් එක ඒකට හොඳයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔය වගේ මට්ටමේ ඉන්න කෙනෙකුට දැන් මොකක්වත් නැහැනේ කරන්න. විශේෂ දෙයක් ආවේ නැහැ. හිතන්න සද්දයක් ආවෙත් නැහැ, රූපයක් ආවෙත් නැහැ, කවුරුත් හරිම නිශ්ශබ්දයි. කරන්න දෙයක්වත් නැහැ. හුස්ම රැල්ලක් නිකන් ගෙවිලා ගිහිල්ලා. හිතේ සිතුවිල්ලක්වත් නැහැ. දැන් ඉතින් මොකද කරන්නේ? ඉතින් නිින්ද යනවා නේද? කට්ටිය නිින්ද යනවා. ඊපස්සේ භාවනාවක් නැගිටලා යනවා. දැන් ඉතින් සක්මනට යනවා. නැත්නම් ඉතින් උදේ කෑම ලෑස්තිද කියලා පොඩ්ඩක් බලනවා. නේද? මොකක් හරි ඕනෙනේ මෙයාව අවශ්‍ය ගන්න. පුළුවන් ද අපිට චුට්ටක් නිකන් ඔහේ ඉන්න. නේද? ඒක කළාම අපි පුරුදු කරලා ගන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් වෙන ඔප්ෂන් එකක් නැහැ. වෙන ක්‍රමයක් නැහැ මේක පුරුදු කරලාම ගැනීමක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. අපිට අර තල්ලුවක් දීමක් පොඩි මේකට ධෛර්යමත් කිරීමක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේගේ දේශනාව තුළින් යම්කිසි මතක් කිරීමක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි අපිම මේක කාගෙන යන්න ඕනේ. අපිම මේක තුළ යම්කිසි පරිණත වීමක් වෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැතුව අපිට මේක ස්කිප් කිරීමෙන් වැඩක් නැහැ. මේක නිකන් මගහැරීමෙන් නම් අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න නැහැ. පොතෙන් පතෙන් මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑ. පොතෙන් පතෙන් අපිට යම්කිසි දැනුවත් භාවයක් අපිට ඇති කරાવી. හැබැයි අපි ඒක තුළ නිකන් ජීවත් වීම තුළ ප්‍රායෝගිකව ඒක තුළ වාසය කිරීම තුළමයි ඉන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා පොඩ්ඩක් ඉවසගෙන යමු. හොඳයි. English, I think I have explained last time the same thing. Most of the people are going through the same thing. So they are feeling bored and they are asking, I mean, is it the proper meditation and things are going on, the vibrations are happening and it's feeling like bored and sometimes feeling asleep. So this is a very common question that even previously we have answered. The same thing they have asked again. Another yogi has asked again. The only thing is that we need to be familiarized with that state. So what I have mentioned is that typically we constantly agitate the mind. We constantly agitate the mind and looking at for some kind of a pleasure. Now say for example, if we are looking at very exciting film, so through the all different incidents showing there, we are agitating the mind, we are provocating the mind and we feel quite happy. And if we are, say, listening to various music, so that is also giving some kind of a agitation, kind of an excitement to the mind and it produces some kind of an happiness. But with Vipassana practice, so you are taking to a stage, even though sights are there, mind is not that interested about it. Even though sounds are there, mind is not that interested and it feels like bored. Then you fall asleep. But now it's a matter of familiarizing with that state with patience. So you need some amount of patience here. You can't forcefully jump to the next stage. So it's a kind of maturing in this state, allowing the mind to just be. Just be in the boredom. Welcome to the boredom. So how are we going to welcome boredom? මොකද්ද ඒකාකාරීත්වයට සාදර වීම. පොඩි ලස්සන වචනයක් දාගමු ඉතින් ඔකට. නේද? මාකට් කරගන්නත් ඕනේ. මාකට් කරන්න වුණා අපි ලස්සන වචන දාන්නේ නේද? අන්න ඒ වගේ අපි මේකටත් දාගමු ලස්සන වචනයක්. So we are welcoming boredom. How to welcome boredom? How to dwell in boredom? How to enjoy boredom?
In that time, it's like life itself becomes quite boring or quite pointless.
Correct.
So there's almost no reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Sorry, can you repeat the last statement?
It's almost as if there's no reason to get out of bed in the morning.
But you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to go to work as a housewife, as a mother. You have a lot of responsibilities, so you have to get up from the bed. Now that's the thing. So that's the thing. So I mean, that's why all these other responsibilities and all these things now you can't ignore. That's why I mean, even the meditation you can't ignore. So the advice is not that you are skipping meditation. Even though it is boring, you need to sit. I mean, that's the point. Now, say for example, there are some interesting even stories during the good old days. Say a student monk, so he wants to give up. Then what the teacher says is, okay, now you clean this cave. Just clean the cave. So he's now cleaning it. You know, some kind of an activity he's going through. Because otherwise the student will escape from this state and he will go away, leaving the teacher. But teacher knows exactly, okay, this is the kind of a transition period this person is going through, and he is using different tactics to just keep him. So likewise, so we need to encourage the person to just continue a practice. I mean, just be patient. Just continue. Only a kind of an encouragement. So you yourself have to endure it. Boring, yes, but that's why I'm just trying to logically tell you how we are enjoying ourselves through excitement, through agitation. But I mean, it is harmful, no? I mean, do you think that agitating the mind is sort of beneficial? Not at all. So we are always fluctuating, I mean, oscillating the mind. We never want to be in the middle. So we always skip the middle. We don't appreciate the middle state. We always want something high, or when things go wrong, either we go to the down. Now, say if you consider, now if something happened in the past, can you remember the bored states which has happened? Can't. I mean, all the things that really had a huge impact on you, where you have cried, someone has hurt you, that you can remember. And you can even think again and again about that. Even now, today, you can still remember when you have cried, most worried states. And you can stay hours in that, spending hours in that, even crying today. Do you think it is beneficial? We all can understand it's not beneficial. And there may be other situations, say, there are very exciting states. Say you are enjoying with your parents or children or your husband or wife or whatever, very exciting enjoyments. That also you can recall and remember and be in that. That is another level. So we are living in these two extremes. So that's what we need to understand even logically. So we are very much into oscillations. So we are very much addicted to these things. Now, Buddha's teaching help us to just be in this middle state, be in this equanimous state and appreciate that. Just understand this is the most healthiest state of mind. And even through, scientific findings, they have understood, okay, this it is not the happiness which is more productive to the mind, healthy to the mind. It is not the worry more healthy to the mind. It is just the peaceful state of mind that is most healthy for the mind. But we don't appreciate that. That's the point. So that's why we need to learn these things. We have to understand from the Buddha's teaching, convince ourselves. And when it is happening, okay, I'm just enduring this boredom. I'm just learning. I'm just being in that. Okay, let me just be there. So likewise later, mind will understand, okay, this is also possible. I don't need to, excite the mind, look at various things. I can just be. Just be. Very interesting laugh, is
One day in a retreat that I looked after over there were quite a few people going into this boring state and getting it upset. Then he said, do some meditation, experience feeling super. It's okay.
Right.
And then go back to Nissarana. So that's what I do, because the lady said, I guess I was feeling a sense of hopelessness at one time, and I didn't know what was happening. So I very much now. Because how to be feeling this sense of hopelessness? They are meditating and doing all the great things, and then we want to feel on top of the world.
Correct. Correct. Sorry?
We have to be devoted for
So what you need?
Probably she will say.
Do the Samkhya meditation.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah. So that's that. Even Buddha mentioned that, in the what's that sutta? Bhikkhunupassaya Sutta. In Bhikkhunupassaya Sutta, there Buddha encouraged, if you come to a kind of a dry kind of state of mind because of the vipassana, okay, you can switch to some, energetic, some enthusiastic kind of samatha meditation, and you just enjoy that. But again, you need to shift here. Again, back into the boredom. Right. But anyway, these are very interesting areas. Now, we need to, theoretically also we need to understand what's going on and convince ourselves. And when we are practically going through it, just be patient with it. So don't jump to other things. Just try to be patient, and slowly mind will understand. You can't maybe understand, but mind will understand, okay, I can just be there, just peaceful. I don't need to skip that. I can just be. So mind will understand. That's why Buddha encourages that, as we discussed yesterday in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta. Don't be in the excited state. It is artificial. It is constructed. And it is gross. But this middle is very soft, very silent, and very simple, not constructed, less constructed, we can say. So just be. So it's a kind of a maturing process. Now, say for example, as children, say we want to always play. Say every time video games nowadays, right? Different kinds of sports and this and that. As we grow up, do you want that much of playing? You don't need, right? As it's a kind of a maturing process. As children, we can't simply stay quiet and we want to always jump to this and that and, laughing, shouting, crying, and all these things are there. But as we are growing up, we become somewhat, okay, he's a mature person now. He's an elderly person now. So he can just stay without much of that sort of thing. So likewise here also, at the beginning, it's difficult, but later can. So I also can't, but definitely can.
It's a lonely journey sometimes.
Yes, definitely.
That is what the lady was also saying.
Yeah, definitely. That's why, even though it is, now, even though it is lonely journey, you may not feel lonely. You may feel that you are connected to the whole universe. You are not isolated. You are not very much like given up or you are not defeated. Like rather you feel happy just being alone, not agitating. You are very well connected to everything. So the things will change. That's why I am telling. As we continue, the present attitude, present perception may change to something different, something more positive. Then you love to be like that. So then why, certain monks, they stay, say, years or something in just the forest by themselves? Do they feel depressed? No, they are quite happy. So likewise, it's a kind of a maturing process for us. So it may take some time. You can't jump. You can't forcefully do it. Just enjoy it slowly. Mind will understand and you can simply appreciate that. You can simply be in that.
Yes, so that's one thing that you need constant encouragement.
Definitely.
That's why they say that you have a
Sure.
and explain.
Correct.
Otherwise, just do it by yourself.
Yeah, that's why. Even without the Buddha's teaching, it is very unlikely that we would do it. Definitely not. Yeah.
And also, it's good to have somebody to encourage and
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Otherwise, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Lonely and very difficult.
Yeah, I can agree. Yes. No.
Just respond to that comment on it.
Yeah.
I in fact feel very happy
Correct.
when I'm by myself. And that's the time when I feel most connected.
Correct.
But when I have to interact and be with others, it's much more difficult. But I have to tell myself this is part of the living and you have to interact.
Exactly. So that's why so it is not that you completely escape from the society and being alone. So that is going to one extreme. And again, it is not that you are completely involved with so many things and you have no time at all just to be yourself. That is to another extreme. So how to cope up with both situations happily, without kind of a frustration? How just be in the both situations, isn't it? Yeah. It's a learning curve actually. Sometimes we are going to this side and we want to be, be alone. Don't come and interrupt me. But later, okay, no problem, you can come. Okay, you can go forward.
Just on that one, Bhante, may I say that Ajahn Brahm says sometimes that turn the loneliness into aloneness. Aloneness. So that means you are trying to appreciate the aloneness.
Exactly.
So he says that.
That's
and
right.
he also says that question be a bottomless waste paper basket. So that all the rubbish that other people are giving goes through.
True.
And you mentioned, Bhante, that yesterday and today both the Indriya Bhavana Sutta.
Yeah.
And in that, I think for this type of situation, I think you mentioned yesterday that when you come across these incidents or the sights or the sounds or from the outside world, you don't grab onto what it says is the signs and features, characteristics, nimitta and anubhyanjana.
Correct.
So therefore, I think the basis that I think Bhante Dhammajiva did when he was here 3 months ago, what he did was the Kimattiya Sutta from Anguttara 10. And in that, the beginning is the Sila. First stage before we come and sit here is the Sila. I think in all the suttas, Buddha, even before starting the Sila, he has the Achara Gochara, isn't it, Bhante? Generally accepted well behavior. So if we practice that and then come to the Sila and then the Hiriyottappa, and if we have all that, then when we come to sit, when we remember Indriya Bhavana, the loneliness will become aloneness.
Yeah, we need to market it somehow.
and that also that if I may ask on that other question what you answered, Bhante, on this one, that in that Kimattiya Sutta, it's the 10 stages. That's why it is in Anguttara 10. You have the Sila and then Avipattisaro, no regrets. Then you have the 4 stages of happiness. Pamujja, Piti, Sukha and Passaddhi. And then comes the Samadhi. And after Samadhi only you have the vipassana.
Correct.
Yatha bhuta jnana. So, if we start looking at things as at least at these intermediate stages like rapture, then you are deviating from the Buddha's words, don't you? No, I just want to clarify this discussion. So if you go to the, I think it's the samadhi is the 6th, 7th stage in that.
Different. Now these are different recipes, I would say. Yes. Now one recipe says, okay, you have to go in this kind of a stage-wise process. Another process, another recipe, another process would say, okay, you can even start from here, then you can continue. Now, say for example, if you refer Sati Sampajanya Sutta, it starts with Sati Sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension, and it leads to Hiriyottappa. Hiriyottappa leads to sense restraint. Sense restraint leads to Sila. From Sila, it goes to the other things. So likewise, starting with Sati Sampajanya, by the way. And say, on the other hand, if you consider the Anapanasati Sutta, so Buddha starts with Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, and he used it to develop the Kayanupassana, the first 4 stages.
Yes.
So we can't say it is pure samatha. Now, say you are recognizing different characteristics of breathing and say subtle aspects of breathing. So it's a fair amount of investigation is involved. And then the piti passaddi may arising, and even that he is saying this is the Vedananupassana.
Yes.
So it is not mere you go through the blissful state and keep it only to that level. Rather, you can look at it from the Vedananupassana point of view. That is you are making use of the result. So I don't think therefore we are sort of going against things. Rather, Buddha at certain other suttas, Buddha give different recipes. So because different people are different, we can't say everybody has to follow strictly only this path. So different people have the opportunities, and Buddha also have recommended many different possibilities, and we can make use of them.
Because of the nature of the people, different poses for courses, I guess.
Yes.
So, this is now the 6th question, Bhante.
Okay.
Could you kindly explain how one can differentiate the state of anissito or aloof from other states? Can there be vibrations in the body at this time? Or else should all vibrations disappear? Also, once in this state, we can only observe but not do anything if the mind gets attached to some object. Am I correct? Much merit to you, Bhante.
Yeah, actually, when you first come across this state, it may not be pure unassociated state or pure emptiness. So what you encounter may be still somewhat gross, somewhat with some fluctuations, but comparatively, there is no some huge grasping. The mind is there, but time to time it may break. Certain kind of, say, little bit of agitation may be available, but not kind of strong graspings are happening. And as we are further growing, so now further kind of relaxation is there, and less grasping and less distractions. And further as we continue, probably there may be some amount of peacefulness, and you can even spend there, and less disturbances, and you feel that your anisita state has somewhat expanded. So likewise, at the beginning, you can't expect the 100% pure, perfect kind of emptiness. So what you are experiencing at the beginning may be somewhat impure kind of thing. But later, slowly as you are continuing, you may come to more and more kind of better states. Because that is, we can simply say this is the anisita state, but when we are practically continuing it, developing it, so slowly, the mind will let go of all the little attachments, and it will come into the more purified state of mind. So, but this mentions there's a kind of attachment. If attachment happens, it is not anisita. So even if you attach to the emptiness, then it is not no more, kind of an anisita. Then you are attaching to that. That's why, in order to understand this, we need to maintain that anisita state fairly, long term, then only these subtle things we can recognize. Otherwise, only the gross things, gross attachments, gross graspings we can recognize, but we can't recognize the minor things. Say, for example, say you are taking a torchlight, flashlight, and if that is only producing a limited light, then you can't see the surrounding. Only a limited area you can see. But if it is so powerful and it has a very bright light, then you can even see the subtle things. So likewise here also, if the mind is fairly pure and you can maintain that for a long time, then even the subtle attachments may be possible to recognize. So therefore, it's a kind of a growing state. It is not something stagnating, rather it is also growing. Yeah. One moment. That's the question. Yeah.
One thing, I wrote the question.
Right.
There are two parts. The first one was about differentiating this unsequential state with the others. Continuation, that's something progressing, so initial mind, gross, and so on.
Correct.
Yeah, so, but the second part was about doing something, like yesterday's response from validation. If we get our mind goes to something that we like, dislike, we try to bring it back to this unsecure state. So in that second part, I was talking about that part. Then probably that we shouldn't be doing anything, just observe that it could be undetached.
Yeah. So, I mean, thing is, we have to little bit give a interaction only if it get deviated. Or if things are happening smoothly, if mind is not attached to anything, we have nothing to do. So just be in the boredom. Just be in that state. Nothing to do because it is there. But suppose it get attached, excited. Then Buddha is telling, okay, don't be there, come back. Now that means we need to do something purposely. So that's why Buddha encouraged, okay, this is olarikang, sankatang, parissamupannang. This is this excited state. That's olarika. This is gross. Sankata, this is constructed. You have prepared that. And parissamupannang, and it is conditioned. And it depends on so many other conditions. So likewise, so rather than being there, now Buddha encourages us to come back to this state. So that means willfully, purposely, we need to return back. We need to appreciate the previous very simple, peaceful state. So that means we have to return, again and again return. Now the interesting thing is, so the time taken for returning become less and less. And Buddha says, the very, talented person, within the blink of an eye, he may return.
That's what I was actually thinking about. Like sometimes when it actually get deviated, as soon as it happens in the mind,
correct,
it tells you that it happened. So really, there's nothing much to do. Just like observing that it happened is enough to
get back. Exactly. So it's a learning process. I mean, let the mind get distracted, let the mind get excited, switch from this state to a different state, and you learn from that and again come back. So we need to, I mean, these are mistakes, no? Skipping to this state is a kind of a mistake. And we did a mistake. Now Buddha is advising as a father, as a teacher, okay, don't do this mistake again, and you return back. So again you are returning. So it's a learning curve, so we have to go through it. That's why it is not mere sitting, closing eyes and meditating. That's why, I mean, we need to do it the whole life like. So that's why, I mean, through eyes, through ears, nose, tongue. So all the faculties are quite open, functioning, and through that this skip can happen. When it is happening, let me come back. So you can't just restrict it to the retreat now. Retreat has to be extended. Homework. Yeah. Right.
This is the one before the last question.
Right.
Dear Bhante, from last night's discourse, one thing according to my understanding is it encourages to have a doubt of the teachings and the practice. Doubt, however, is one of the 5 hindrances. Could you kindly clarify?
No. Yeah. Thank you. Very interesting. Very interesting question. No, it is not really the doubt. Rather, Buddha encourages us to keep an open mind. So, now say, for example, the stage that we discussed yesterday is Satchanu Rakkana, protecting the truth. Now, in order to protect the truth, Buddha encourages us to learn it, memorize it, think about it, reflect about it. Now, these are, in a way, we have selected a particular teaching and we are learning about it. So that means kind of an appreciation is there. But a little bit warning is there. Don't still come to a definite conclusion because you haven't fully realized it. So that is the part actually we further going to discuss in the sutta maybe today, tomorrow during the Dhamma discourse. So that's where, till we come to our own experiential knowledge, Buddha asks us to maintain a kind of a, not a doubt rather, maintain kind of an open mind. Because it is not yet your own understanding. It is Buddha's teaching. It is Buddha's understanding. Maybe someone else's understanding. It is not your own direct knowledge. It hasn't come to that level. So therefore, just keep a little bit of an open mind, open attitude. Because what you have learned may not have still the exact truth. There may be some more to learn. So you got to learn.
Would you say, Bhante, this question that it comes to, you can say, investigate, or Vimansa in the Chattaro Vidipada, or the Dhammavichaya in the
Bojjhanga.
This is what I think answer to that.
Yes, yeah. It's a matter of, because it's a keeping an open mind and then learning further and further investigating. Then and you are, also the practice, encouragement for the practice. So that is, we'll discuss in the discourse. So the huge emphasis is there for the practice, and the practice is the one telling you, okay, now I have arrived the truth. Now I have discovered the truth. So I'm not going to tell any more, otherwise, because then I have nothing to tell during the discourse.
Well, fortunately, this is the last question. Dear Bhante, thank you for your brilliant teachings. Just to add another comment to yesterday's comment about the division of ladies and gents sitting separately. Ladies' side right is very crowded and it is not very hygienic with the current COVID situation. COVID is still among the community, even though people ignore it. Gents' side left is very spacious, as you can see, Bhante. This is not criticizing the retreat management. Everything is perfectly organized. Well done, WA Retreats with managers' guidance. Thero Saranai Swami Maharaj.
Yeah. So we welcome ladies to the gents' side.
You will say to the brighter side?
Okay. So I think very interesting. Then we have spent almost 1.5 hours. And thank you very much for participation. Then we conclude the Dhamma discussion here. Thank you.